welcome to Mr. Haig's Class Podcast. This is episode 1. So nice to meet you. My name is Mr. Haig, and I am your host for this podcast, and I hope that this grows and that you find meaning behind this podcast. And the purpose behind this podcast is to guide students and young adults to the next phase in life. I don't think we as adults do that as much or as often as we should. So while my target audience are the younger generation, the teens and the young adults, my hope is that I also hope to attract parents and guardians. And hopefully they'll listen and kind of talk to their kids about things. And you're welcome to contact me. You can reach me at Mr. Haig's Class at gmail.com. And of course, I have a website, mrhaigsclass.com, and hopefully you'll get a lot out of this. So, what qualifies me to be talking about the subject in regards to teens and young adults? Well, the fact that I'm 53 years old, maybe that's one way of looking at it, but there's a lot of 50-year-old people out there that really don't, worry about the younger generation. But I do, in a very deep way. I'm a high school teacher, and my name is Mr. Jim Haig. So nice to meet you. And I teach digital media arts classes at a local high school. They learn from me everything they need to know on how to start a career or get to the next step in web design, graphic arts, and video production. I love my job. I love my students, all 160 of them. Yes, so by the end of the day, I am pretty well burnt out, but in a good way. I'm also an entrepreneur. So before I became a teacher, for 25 years, I ran my own company. What did I offer? Well, the same things that I teach: web design, graphic arts, and video production. Loved my job, loved owning my own business, loved going out and getting new clients, serving people. What does that mean? Well, as a teacher and as a business person, my students get the rare opportunity to learn from an entrepreneur who teach them about responsibility, about project management, about never giving up. I loved getting new clients. I love making money. And I want them to enjoy the process too, as long as it gives them meaning. You really have to love life and love what you're doing, or at least try the very best that you can. I know that not everybody has the same life. On another note, I'm also a family man. I've got a beautiful 9-year-old son. At the time of this recording, we are at the year 2021. And I've been married to the same beautiful, loving wife for many, many years. And, well, life is pretty good so far. And as I mentioned before, the purpose behind this podcast is to help students and teenagers from all walks of life all over the world. My mission is to encourage students to live their lives to the fullest. And I firmly believe, as a member of the more experienced generation, is to prepare life by forewarning them what's to come up, and more importantly, how to handle situations that will be challenging to them. And I will say this, there will be challenges. So for all you teenagers and high school students, you're going to face them. And because we went through a pandemic, you've already dealt with some trials and tribulations. Some of you may not have a happy home life. Maybe some of you, you got into more trouble than you should have. You know something? You're young. You can turn things around. And that is what I want for you. I want you to turn yourself around, and I want you to be the very best that you can. That is the purpose of this podcast, is to basically help students get to the next phase in life and win. When does life begin? Does it begin in high school? I think it does, because that's where records are being kept. That's when your grades count. Colleges look at it. You will be more aware of your surroundings. You'll be more aware of where you are and where you want to go. You're going to start thinking about it. And it's not just about grades and your subjects, your math, your English, your history. It's not about that. It's more about the discovery of who you are and where you want to go and basically what you want to be. And some of you may not understand or decide what you want to do. And that's okay. You got plenty of time. I know people in the 30s that still are trying to figure out what they want to do. I think that's a little late in life, but I'm just saying that the whole idea is to kind of be aware of who you are and what you're about. And then you can figure out what you want to be, what you want to do for an occupation. So what is the purpose behind high school? What is it all about? Well, that's a loaded question, I would say. I look back at my high school days, and it's basically just a blip of time. I mean, it's there one moment and it's gone the next. And as the years go by, it just becomes less and less of a thought. I do have some good memories, some bad ones, and possibly more than I care to remember. But I now realize that those days have more of an impact on me than I realized. So yes, I believe your professional life does begin in high school. What you do in high school does have a huge impact. It sets the stage of life. Now, life is huge. And just because you do good in high school doesn't necessarily spell success for the rest of your life. And just because you do poorly in high school doesn't mean you'll do poorly in life. Things change. World changes. And I'll share a lot of my stories throughout these podcasts and what I've been through and what I was able to accomplish and all the challenges that I faced. I have no problem doing that, and I'm willing to open myself up to that. Being a high school teacher now, I see a lot of changes. I see a lot of things. I see a lot of drama. I see students who, again, they have very hard lives. I've seen a lot of heartbreaks and a lot of losses. But there's a lot of trials and tribulations. I mean, unfortunately, last year I was teaching at home, and the students were taking online courses. And many of my students lost their loved ones because of COVID-19. It was very heartbreaking to watch a student carry his father's ashes across the stage when he was receiving his diploma. So I had to really console a lot of people. But then at the same time, you've got a lot of triumphs. You got a lot of success stories. You got students who overcome some huge obstacles and become successful in life. There are students who are poor and they end up going to UCLA. There are students who overcame injuries and played in the NCAA. I've seen it all. It's such an amazing story. And as I always tell my entering freshmen, when they walk into my classroom, they're sitting down and they look at this big, beautiful iMac in front of them, a machine that most of them never even knew existed. And they sit there and they stare at the screen and they look at me, and I start off with a story. Same story I start every year. I always try to aim the first day of school for the freshmen, welcoming them to this new phase in life. These are the best of times. These are the worst of times. But somewhere in between, the path that you choose, the way that you handle yourself, it's all up to you. The decisions are yours. You choose. You decide what kind of time you're going to have in high school. My memories in high school are rather small right now. Eventually, you move on to other things. You move on in life. You meet other people that, you face other situations. You have a career to deal with. You got family, more responsibilities come on your shoulders. And you grow and you mature and you are giving yourself the opportunity to face those challenges and you take them on. But only until now, in my 50s, did I realize how much high school has actually served me. And I wasn't a great student. I was getting mostly B's and C's, a few A's here and there. And in college, I ended up at Penn State University for about 2 years. And the last 2 years, I ended up at Arizona State University. And I would be lying to you to say that high school had a huge impact on me. It did. It had an impact on me. And it wasn't because of the grades or the courses that I took. It was the subliminal messages, the self-awareness. I now know why I was only mediocre at best. I know now why. And my purpose of this podcast is to kind of talk to you about that. What is your purpose? What is the purpose behind high school? And in high school, for me, I didn't have a role model. I never had a teacher that impacted me. There were some teachers I liked, and there's others that I, respected and, didn't really like. But like I said, I always respected my teachers. And the same thing goes with my friends. There's some friends that if they're my friends, I should like them. But sometimes I hang out with friends that, they're just there or they have a certain stature and I want to think that they're my friends. But let's talk about a couple of reasons why you're in high school. Okay, this is really important. So why are you in high school? Well, there's 2 reasons. And each reason has sub-reasons. In other words, there's reasons below that. There are the have-tos and the get-tos. You have to go to school. You have to go every day, unless you're sick. You have to be because it is the law. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no working around it. As long as you are under the age of 18, you will be at school. Otherwise, the police gets involved. Okay. Also, you have to be there because, your parents and your guardians tell you got to do that. Okay. Your teachers tell you got to do that. Your friends say you got to do that. The society tells you got to do that. And you have to go to high school for social reasons. Your friends are there. What are you going to do at home? That's the bottom line. You got to be there. That's it. That's just the way it is. But that's a have to. Have to is a resistance. I mean, if you have to do something, do you really want to do something? Like you have to mow the lawn. You have to take a shower, or you have to, take a driving test to get your license. You have to take the SATs. You have to go to the doctor. You have to go to the dentist. Oh my God. Do you really enjoy the have-tos? If you see high school as a have-to, you're already in trouble. Because the success in high school is not about how talented of a student you are. Success in high school is based on your attitude. Now, the other reason, the get-tos. You have the have-tos. Now we got the get-tos. You get to have opportunities presented to you for your growth, your well-being, your happiness. I'll repeat, you get to experience opportunities that are presented to you for your growth, your well-being, and your happiness. High school is about growth. It's about mental well-being and mental growth. You want to be there. You want to be there because it helps you as a person. If you allow it. Again, it's up to you. Even if the challenges that you face, the challenges that you're about to face, you get to develop an attitude that will guide you through it. It's just practice for the next stages of life, and there's going to be a lot of stages in life. Yeah, you've got a test and an exam coming up. Okay, you get to develop strategies and a mental awareness or a mental attitude on how you're going to challenge that. Even if it's a calculus or physics or chemistry, it doesn't matter what challenge or what kind of subject it is or how hard that subject is. You get to practice developing an attitude. I can do this. I got this. It's the hardest subject on the planet, but I got this. And you get to practice that because the challenges you face in high school is minuscule compared to what's coming up. You've heard that all before. And it's true. And not only that, you also get to be a role model for other students. I always stress that in a very big way. You get to be that role model of a student who may not be performing as well, and for a variety of reasons. Reach out to people, help them, listen to them, talk to them, reach out to your teachers. Ask them for their help. I never really did. Mainly because I didn't think I was worthy of their help. But you are worthy. That's the get-tos. Okay, so let's move forward. Again, a have-to is a resistance. A get-to is a sense of honor, a sense of trust, it's a sense of gaining those benefits. You feel worthy. You feel powerful. You feel ready. Be open to the 5 get-to goals. So here are 5 get-to goals of high school. And none of them has anything to do with grades. None of them have anything to do with coursework. That's where the misconception happens. High school, yes, you are measured your success by the grades you get, no doubt. That's what the college people look for. That's what even some workers, some employment agencies, they look for. How did you do in high school? Well, let's go ahead and talk about get to goal number 1. Number 1, you need to be open to the end results. How many times you've seen people come in, into high school as freshmen, and automatically they're being told, well, the goal here is to get you to college. Well, that was my experience. As soon as I walked in the doors of high school, I was told, you're going to go to college, and not just college. Oh, you're going to a very major college. Well, I ended up at Penn State. I ended up at Arizona State. I have a master's degree, but believe me, it wasn't easy. I wasn't happy. I wish I had kind of experienced other things. My dad wanted me to be in biology. And one of the worst days of my life was when, after college graduation, I realized, oh my God, what have I been doing the last 8 years? What was I doing in high school? What was I doing in college, studying a subject I had absolutely no interest in? I had no business in biology. I hated being in the laboratory. I hated playing with test tubes and petri dishes. Oh my goodness. It wasn't who I was. It wasn't what I wanted to do. It's nothing compared to what I do right now. But I had to go because that was the limiting belief that you go into high school, you're going to go to college. That is a limiting belief. You need to be open to the end results. You might want to go to military instead. You know how many successful CEOs go through the military? And you can do both, college and military. I always bring in the armed forces into my classroom. I want my students to hear what those soldiers have to say. And it's not just about serving your country, but it's also developing yourself. I bring people who are entrepreneurs. I was an entrepreneur, as I mentioned before, for 25 years. I bring them in. Talk about marketing, talk about making connections, networking. Those are critical skills to have. And then, of course, I talk about work and training, going into vocationals. Maybe you want to be a plumber, but beginning of high school, you thought you'd be a doctor. Maybe you want to go into art, but at the beginning of high school, you thought you'd be a lawyer. Life is big. Things change, and you have to be open to that. Again, what makes you whole? What makes you one with yourself? You need to find a career that you love, just like you need to find the love of your life if you choose to get married. But you got to understand, you're going to be living day to day doing something. You need to be open and not get stuck based on the definitions by what someone else gave you. You tell yourself where you got to go. Don't let anybody else. Going to college, again, if it serves you, that's where you go. Military, if it serves you, that's where you go. If you want to go to work, okay, then go to work. Life is big. Be open. Be open to the end results. Explore everything. And that leads me to number 2, which is basically, I encourage you to expand your horizons so that you can take the first step towards your calling. I will repeat what I just said. Expand your horizons so that you can take the first step to your calling. Keyword calling. Hashtag calling. Not a career, your calling. My career was an entrepreneur. I designed websites. I produced video. I produced graphics. But that was my career. Some days I didn't want to do it. Other days like, well, here we are. The other days I'm like, yay. Of course, my best days is, when I made money. And I never knew when my next paycheck was coming in. I just kind of trusted that it would, and it did. But my calling, my passion, my love is teaching. I never thought I'd be a high school teacher until one day a friend said, oh, there's a job opening. Maybe you want to be a substitute high school teacher. I'm like, oh my God, those kids are going to eat me alive. Well, I never thought I'd fall in love with the occupation. I am so blessed to be one. And I don't want to do anything else. This is how I want to end my working life, is being a teacher. And it's just such a joy. I look forward to this calling that I have every day. So what is the difference between a career and a calling? Well, a career, like I mentioned before, you kind of force yourself to go to work 8 o'clock every Monday. You say, some days you have your good days, some days you have your bad days. It defines who you are. It may or may not involve a passion, a love. It may be your choice, but like I said, if I had gone on to become a doctor or a biologist like my dad wanted me to do, would I really be happy? It's my career, but it doesn't mean happiness. A calling, on the other hand, is a oneness. It's a happiness. It's a purpose. What is your calling? I love being a teacher. That is my calling. Maybe some of you would love being a dog trainer. Maybe some of you guys would love being a jockey on a horse racing thing. Maybe some of you would have a calling building homes or working for a nonprofit. What makes you into a whole purpose? What makes you want to get up out of bed and go right to work? Hey, let's take on, see what kind of challenges I have. And I'm not saying that as a calling that you're not going to have your troubles days, and there may be some days you don't want to be there. Okay, well, that's fine. But at the end of the day, I am thankful for what I am doing. And that is exactly what number 2 is. Expand your horizons. Take an interest in every course, especially the electives. Take an interest in all the courses. If you want to be a doctor, don't just take biology courses. Go and take a culinary course. Take an art course. Learn auto mechanic. You want to go into law? My goodness. Join the dance team. Go play volleyball or, maybe take some graphic arts. Do not limit yourself to the core classes, math, science, English, history, because that's what you think that the colleges want to see. And you're right, maybe they do want to see that. But nowadays, colleges are more into the well-rounded people. Think about that one, okay? Take courses that expand your mind. Graphics, EMT, fire technology, culinary, guitar, theater. You never know what you're going to discover about yourself. It might touch something that you didn't even know that was there. Expand yourself. Number 3, learning to learn. You see, I think that not just high school, but any kind of training, whether it's going into adult school or college, you really should develop a love for learning. And even if you don't love learning, the way the world is going, you don't have a choice. You need to learn how to learn. And I think this is the most important of the get-to goals that I'm talking about, because the world changes. Nothing stays the same. The difference that I see right now, I am teaching high school. When I was a high school student, the world was not even close to what it is right now. We didn't have any iPods or iPads or iPhones or Androids. We didn't even have internet. We weren't text messaging. We weren't calling. We weren't playing Roblox. We would ride our bikes all day long. And when we got home, we put our bags away and we'd go out and play catch and play baseball. I mean, yeah, we had Atari and we had Nintendo. We didn't have Nintendo. We had Intellivision. Yeah, I mean, the digital video games, Pac-Man and Donkey Kong all started coming out. But even then, I remember we would much rather go outside and play ball. But here's the thing. The world changes. And I think that's a good thing. 20 years from now, I bet you we're going to brag about the robot that we have or the taking trips to Mars and back. You never know. I mean, things have changed. Things are always changing, and you got to change with it. I mean, the manual that I read for my Mazda CX-5 is so extensive, so crazy. It's the most complex machine I own. Artificial intelligence. All that is coming, and you got to be ready for it. All right, number 4, discernment of your peers. Well, what does that mean? You need to judge who you hang out with, who you want as friends. You show me your 4 best friends, and I'll show you your future. You show me the people that you allow to impact you, and I will show you who you are, more so than the mirror. Peer pressure is rampant. Sometimes we want to define ourselves based on the people that we're around. Yeah, we'd love to be in the in crowd. We want to hang out with a star football player or the prettiest cheerleader. We want to hang out with the movers and shakers, all the ASB students. Oh, yeah, we want to be with them because they make things happen. They're the cool kids. Well, be very careful. Are the cool kids getting good grades? Are the cool kids inviting you to hang out with them? Are the cool kids really that cool? Are they getting in trouble? Are they getting suspended? Are they doing drugs? You got to discern. You need to be around people who lift you up, call you for no reason, just to see how you're doing. You need to be around people who get results. And I'll tell you, that is extremely important down the line as you get older. Running my own business, I hire the very best people who are better at me when it comes to websites developments, when it comes to video production. I want people who will teach me how to do that. I surround myself with the best people. I don't want anybody who's kind of mediocre or, I'll take, if there's an attractive person that wants to work for me, no, I don't care about that. I want to see what you can do because my business relies on your success. I don't want lazy people. I want people who get results and gets the job done. So discern with your peers, discernment of your peers. Make sure you pick and choose the right people to hang out with. And finally, number 5, know that there are more chances in life. Know that. There are so many chances out there. Again, as I said before, when I graduated from college, I was at a loss. I was so panicking. What am I doing here? Why am I in a laboratory? I hate being in a laboratory. I'm not a biologist. I don't want to be a biology person. I hate it. I had 5 or 6 jobs as a biologist, and I got fired from all of them because I couldn't stand working with petri dishes and test tubes. Now, I'm not knocking biology. It's an important field, especially now with the pandemic and all these scientific technologies that are happening. It's extremely important. But it wasn't who I was. It was something my dad wanted me to be or other people wanted me to be, but it wasn't what I wanted me to be. Thank goodness the internet showed up because I jumped on that boat. It was the greatest thing, becoming a webmaster. It was such an amazing because I had my own business. I traveled around the country. I met with different people. It was just exhilarating, and I made good money. High school is just a bubble. It will end one day. And you're going to be seeing a whole new world out there. Life does not end in high school. It doesn't really even begin there. But I'm just saying it's a part of who you are. It's an important part of who you are. You got to be self-aware. You got to know every step you take. And that is the purpose behind high school, is to become self-aware and know that the world is big. There are lots of opportunities. Try everything. I mean, think of it this way. I love chocolate. And whenever I go out to ice cream, I always choose the chocolate ice cream. Well, finally, my wife said, well, why don't you try strawberry? Why don't you try vanilla? Why don't you try pecan? Why don't you try pistachio? Sure. Well, you know what? I like them all. I love chocolate, but at least I got to taste everything. And therefore, I know now that I'm a chocolate lover. Same thing with life. But of course, with the internet and with digital media arts, I didn't know about that. That didn't exist until I was in my 30s. Sometimes you may have to wait that long, and it's okay. It is okay. It's not important how you begin. It's important how you end. And with that in mind, I will end this podcast with my sincere hope that you listen to episode 2. Take care, everybody. This is Mr. Haig.